I'm Michael Dynasty. I'm co-president of the Jewish Historical Society of Greater New Haven. I hope we all had a pleasant Rosh Hashanah, meaningful Yom Kippur, and that we've all been inscribed and sealed in the Book of Life. We're delighted to hold our celebration once again in the Vine Family Auditorium of our beautiful JCC. Over the past several years, we have developed a tradition of celebrating the lives and works of exceptional contributors to the quality of life in Greater New Haven, and whose legacies are important chapters in the rich history of our local Jewish community. At a time when the work of historians and archivists is under attack by deniers and divisionists, it has never been more important to support the work that we do in the Jewish Historical Society. Today we recognize and salute Chapel Haven Schleifer Center and the people whose vision established and continued this extraordinary pillar of our community.
Good morning. I'm Adele Messina, and I'm the other co-president of the Jewish Historical Society. I'm Adele Messina. I'm the other co-president of the Jewish Historical Society. I'd like to recognize Dale Schleifer, CEO of the Jewish Federation of Greater New Haven, who's in our audience. I invite up Dr. David Haas, who I saw earlier.
I'm right here.
David is the president of the Federation Board, and we thank you, David and Gail and the JCC for hosting today's event and for supporting not only the Jewish Historical Society, but also the other great agencies that address the interests and needs of our community.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. It is really, for those of you who haven't met me, a true pleasure for me to be here. I was asked to be here specifically because I feel really strongly about how important Chapel Haven Schleifer Center is. But my relationship with the center, with the center's director, was back about 20 years. I've known Mike for about 20 years. Our sons used to play soccer together. His son, for those of you who don't know, is enormously tall. My son is enormously short. So it was really a pleasure to watch, on the soccer field their relationship blossom. But what I learned from Mike in watching him as a parent is how passionate he is about things. He is passionate, obviously, about his family, but he's also passionate about Chapel Haven Schleifer Center. In our conversations and our friendship over the years, I was hearing about all the work he was doing and amazing things that he wants to do. And so when I was asked to be here today, I really could not pass up the opportunity to celebrate Chapel Haven Schleifer Center and to recognize Mike specifically at 25 years of age for being there, which is really warmly welcome everyone to the Jewish Historical Society's annual award celebration. I want to welcome Representative Dillon or Representative Blumenthal, of course, Gail Schleifer, who's here, who I get the privilege of working with every day. We come together to recognize a real gem in our community, the Chapel Haven Schleifer Center. And this institution really is impressive, empowering adults with developmental and social disabilities to live independent, purpose-driven lives, and in doing so, strengthening the very fabric of our shared community here in New Haven. Here at the JCC, we are especially grateful for our partnership with Chapel Haven through Cafe J. My personal family had the opportunity, two of my sons, and my wife used to work alongside many of the residents of Chapel Haven, and Scott is here somewhere. Scott Cohen, I know, is very passionate about Chapel Haven's partnership with Cafe J. And if you haven't had the joy of meeting the team there, I would encourage you to stop by. The warmth, the positivity, dedication are absolutely contagious, and they just light up the entire atmosphere. I think it's really important, just an anecdote that happened when I walked in to say hi to Mike, who I hadn't seen in a couple of years. I inquired whether his wife and his children were here so I could say hi. And before I could even get those words out of my mouth, several of the residents hugged him immediately and said, "We're his family." And I said, "That is perfect." As I was saying, partnerships rooted in purpose have the power to change lives and communities, and this honor today is richly deserved. And I'm so proud to stand here with you and celebrating the extraordinary impact of Chapel Haven Schleifer Center. So thank you all.
Thank you, David. And leadership, as we address some historic and unprecedented challenges in this Jewish community. More than ever in our lifetimes, we need strong leaders. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Marjorie Drucker, speaking of strong leaders. Marjorie is our immediate past president of the Jewish Historical Society, and she has the important honor of telling you about our brunch and more. Marjorie.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us at this joyous celebration. I would like to thank our generous sponsors recognized on the tin cards on your tables and the team that worked on planning this event. Thank you all. Before we start serving, we ask that you take a few moments to remember those who are no longer here to celebrate with us in person. Over the past years, we have lost several individuals whose impact on the Jewish Historical Society will remain their legacy. Please join me in remembering the following leaders of our organization who have passed away since we last gathered for our last annual celebration. Nancy Osterweiss-Walterman, David Bender, Norman Quaidelson, Dr. David Fisher, Ruth Froman, Libby Glucksman, Dr. Isaac Goodrich, Renee Hartman, George Olshan, Marion Odaviano, Barbara Cooley Ward, Marion Fox Wexler. Zikranam Havracha, may their memories be for an eternal blessing. And as we rejoice at the return of the 20 surviving hostages held for more than 2 years in Gaza, please join me in remembering those who were not as fortunate and the all too many lives that were taken in the brutal attack on Israel by Hamas and in the violent war that followed. Let us keep them in our hearts and in our memories. Before you enjoy the wonderful brunch that Tasty Beans Adam Heyman and his staff has prepared for you, we will be led in prayer by Rabbi Eric Woodward of Congregation of Beth Kesser, Israel. Rabbi Woodward, would you join us now? Rabbi
And I just want to say one thing as we do this. Yesterday in the Torah, Zeh Sefer Toldot Adam. This is the book, this is the story of human history. And we're here today celebrating both the Jewish Historical Society of Greater New Haven, which is an organization of history, telling the stories of people in our community. And we're celebrating Chapel Haven and the Schleifer Center, which is a wonderful organization that partners with Becky and my synagogue in so many ways to lift up the individual spiritual life. And it's something that we don't take for granted in our world, that we can be together to lift each other up through our stories, through our diversity, and all of our beauty. And when we say this prayer, thanking God for bringing bread from the earth, we're recognizing that there is so much work that goes into creating things around us, whether it's the bread that we eat, whether it's the vegetables we grow, whether we picked by people, all of these different things, we can feel a sense of real gratitude for this world. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hotzii lanu haaretz. Tambo.
Thank you, Rabbi Woodward. Now I will ask you to please form 2 lines, one on this side, through, one on the other side, to help yourselves to the buffet. And please get your food and take your seats, and we will continue this program while you're enjoying your food. Just a slight change in the program. We're going to ask Gail Schleifer, the CEO of the Jewish Federation Greater New Haven, to introduce one of our guests, our senior senator of the state of Connecticut, the U.S. Senate, Richard Blumenthal, is here today to congratulate Gail.
Good afternoon. We had an afternoon yet. We're still at morning. Good morning, everybody. It is my pleasure this morning. Actually, I'm going to make Senator Blumenthal wait for 1 second first, because while I've got the microphone, I just want to share with you the apologies of our state president of the Senate, Mark Looney, who wanted to be here this morning with us, but was unable to be here. But he conveys his hearty congratulations and his regrets for not being able to be here with us today. It is my pleasure to introduce somebody to you that you all know very, very well, a very good friend to our community. Our U.S. Senator Richard Blumenthal is in his third term on the U.S. Senate. He is a constant with us. He is not only very aware of history, having his dad fleeing the Nazis when he was 18, not from Nazi Germany, but he has been so much a part of all of the major events in our state and our country now moving forward. We are honored and delighted to always have him as our friend. Whenever we need him, he is there. And he is a great public servant. So I am delighted to introduce to you our friend and member of our community, U.S. Senator Richard Blumenthal.
Thank you so much. I recognize I am the only thing standing between you and French. I'm going to be brief. And I apologize that I have to run to something else. But I really want to be here for a couple of reasons. First of all, I'm very excited to be here again at the JCC. Truth be told, I am excited to be almost anywhere except Washington, D.C. But I'm excited to be here for this really very significant occasion and to be introduced by my great friend, Gail Schleifer, whom I've known for many years. When she was in the state senate and worked together on so many issues, she continues her public service, and it really demonstrates that elected office is only one of the ways that people can serve, as you well know, because there are so many people here who contribute so much to our community, to New Haven, to our state of Connecticut. We're here at a historic time. History is being made in the Middle East. I've been here on numerous occasions when we gathered to remember the hostages, and now we can celebrate their freedom. But there's no cause for complacency. And I see in Washington, D.C. how Israel continues to be at risk from neighbors and terrorists who would prefer that it didn't exist. And I have made it my life's mission to support this group today, tomorrow, forever, and I know many of you have as well, and I thank you for that commitment, that continuing dedication to the Jewish state. No matter what the circumstances and no matter what is happening in history, and the kind of history that we celebrate today is local. You might say that, like politics, the old saying, all politics is local, all history is local. The history that affects us is local, and it reflects what's happening in the whole world. And so, remembering the importance of history as the Jewish Historical Society of Greater New Haven does is a real gift to our community, and I thank you for supporting it. And today is very close to my heart because I have been to Chapel Haven Schleifer Center on numerous occasions. I'm a great admirer of the work that it does. And Harriet and Michael exemplify the old saying, there's no limit to the amount of good you can do if you don't care who gets the credit for it. And they work constantly, as does the great staff, all the volunteers, the board of Cap Haven in so many ways, giving back and making possible opportunity and enrichment of lives, which is one of the greatest gifts we can provide as human beings. A gift to another person of greater opportunity and enrichment of their lives in the way that Capital Haven Schleifer Center does. So I'm pleased to present to Michael, if you would come forward, a certificate of special recognition from the Senate of the United States to commemorate this. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day, Manitoba, and thank you very much for reminding us.
And please bear with us for one more change. Folks, pretty busy schedule here. Just a note, I would say that our U.S. Congresswoman, Rosa DeLauro, usually is here. She's not missed any of our events in the past. Unfortunately, needed to take a pass on this event because she did stay in Washington to fight for our health care benefits and in the hopes of an opportunity for some negotiation on the closure of the government. Representative DeLauro sends her congratulations to Chapel Haven. Joining us today from the Connecticut General Assembly is State Representative Pat Dillon. Pat has a long history of working tirelessly to advocate for the needs and the values that we cherish in this community. And she makes sure that they are represented in the legislature. I'm honored to invite Representative Dillon to congratulate the honorees. Pat.
Thank you. And being Irish, I will not be as brief. But I do want to say how astounding it is how much progress we've made, and really so much at Chapel Haven in realizing human potential. It's so easy, to put people in categories and say they can't do this, they can't do this. And what we're seeing really just in my years, and maybe even when I was a researcher at the medical school, we interviewed pediatricians, and I heard stories about things that had happened before my time. And I'll just tell one. One of the families, woman had refused to put her child in Southern and would take her for walks in East Rock Park. And people would come up to her when her child was in the carriage and go, ooh, and be horrified at that. And she was sharing this with me in the interview. But the way that I interviewed her was that her doctor was Dr. Morris Russell, who some of you may remember. But Morris said to me, he was a neighbor too, so I don't not to brag, because I'm not responsible for his achievement, but he said there must be a higher prevalence of some developmental issues in Haven, because I have an awful lot of people in my practice. And what I learned when I went to visit the family was many doctors were very judgmental if you did not put your children in Southern, if you chose to keep them home. So the word went out all over the state, and they would all bring their children to Morris. And there was this little pilgrimage, and I had heard that story, and I shared it when I was speaking at a state event, when I was a new legislator, and people who had had that experience because of their children all stood up to clap for Morris's memory. And I want to say, I want to thank what you do, because with if we do our job, which is always dicey, these days, we can realize we human beings. We shouldn't be limiting people. But I do want to honor and remember someone who was a pioneer before other people were. And to know that we shouldn't be too full of ourselves, should we? We are standing on the shoulders of a lot of giants who were brave. It doesn't sound brave, but it was at the time during the families. But I want to thank you for the astonishing growth over at Chapel Haven and for the wonderful service, really, that's provided for many of the students there. We had a tough time during the pandemic, didn't we? So it was not, and we will be tested again. I don't know what they're going to do in Washington. Well, I'm worried about it. But I want to thank you on behalf, even though Senator Mooney could not be here today, his name is on this. And the whole New Haven delegation was involved with honoring. So this is signed by Martin Mooney and by the Speaker of the House, Matt Ritter. And it has the names of all the New Haven legislators on it. In recognition of more than 50 years of dedication and service to the community, we join with the Jewish Historical Society of Greater New Haven in congratulating and commending Chapel Haven for the positive impact and independence that they have provided to countless individuals over the years. They offer much-needed programs for those dealing with developmental and social disabilities, thereby empowering them to live independent, self-determined lives. We wish this remarkable organization continued success for many years to come. Thank you so much for working with us.
Okay, ready? At this time, please form lines for the brunch buffet on each side of the auditorium and take your seats when you've served yourself. While you're enjoying today's brunch at your tables, please take a look at our video collage of photos of the people and places that represent our honoree, Chapel Haven Schleifer Center. Please special thanks to our sponsors who are recognized on the video screen and on each table. Thanks to JHSGNH, Managing Archivist Nicole Zador, who's up there, for compiling these photos and managing the technology for today's event. Thank you, Nicole. Okay, you may enjoy your meal. We are ready to begin our program again, so keep eating, but I want to take this time to recognize the remarkable achievements of Chapel Haven Schleifer Center. I am pleased to spotlight the talents of a young man whose life as a resident of Chapel Haven includes expressing himself through beautiful music. Isaac Bowman. Is an active member of Chapel Haven Schleifer Center and its Judaism Club. Please welcome Isaac, who will share his experience.
So I'm playing one of my klezmer compositions called The Snowy Day Rain Walk.
Thank you, Isaac, for entertaining and inspiring us with your talents. Isaac will be returning with some vocalists later of today's program. Did you want to say something here? He will be joining us later to talk more about his experiences. For those of you who may be wondering what's been happening at the Jewish Historical Society since our last community event, please know that we have enjoyed a very productive year. Over the past year, and with your support, in addition to the work that goes on day to day in our archives that includes collecting and preserving news and accessions and completing research projects requested from throughout the U.S. and internationally, we have sponsored and presented a variety of programs, including Legacy and Heritage, a guided tour of the Michigan Israel Cemetery. Bullets, Bandages, and Making Waves, Jewish Women in World War II, the third annual Judith Schiff Women's History Program in conjunction with the New Haven Museum. We also sponsored the screening of films at Becky and at Whitney Center leading up to this program. Meeting the Moment seminar series in collaboration with 3 local synagogues, Congregation B'nai Jacob, Congregation Michigan Israel, Temple Beth Shalom, on topics that included the history of the Jewish community's response to times of trauma, the generational divide on the subject of Israel, and the history of technology in Judaism. Each seminar was presented at a different synagogue by a leading subject matter expert with discussions on how our history may foreshadow our present and our future. The Constance Baker Motley story, told by her niece, Connie Royster, in collaboration with Congregation B'nai Jacob, the Towers, and the Greater New Haven African American Historical Society. Jewish Voices of Grove Street, a guided cemetery tour of Jewish burial sites at historic Grove Street Cemetery. Last year, we were the grateful recipients of the Community Impact Grants from the Jewish Federation of Greater New Haven and of a general operating grant from the Community Foundation of Greater New Haven. Our activities are also supported financially through our memberships and private donations, which are always welcome. If you aren't already a member, you can change that by completing a membership form found on your tables. I don't know if you noticed that there's a white form, and there's even a little, what do you call those little things?
QR code.
A QR code that you can zoom in on your phone and make it happen. So please come and join us. Now, Michael Dimenstein will share some history of Chapel Haven from our archives.
Thank you, Marjorie. The Jewish Historical Society proudly continues its mission of collecting, publishing, and preserving primary source materials to serve as a central repository for documenting, researching, and educating about the history of Greater New Haven's Jewish community. Among the treasures within our collection are hundreds of video recorded oral histories. In our archives, we were able to find one that is especially apropos of this event. Almost exactly 23 years ago today, Mr. Sidney Crass, a real estate entrepreneur and leader within the Greater New Haven Jewish community, agreed to be interviewed by one of our volunteers. That volunteer was Rosalind Berman, of blessed memory, a former Connecticut State Representative in New Haven Alder and a lifelong civic leader. Ros Berman interviewed Sid Crass less than 2 years prior to his passing. We have clips from that video which we'll share with you, but first allow me to share some interesting facts about Sid and his vision for Chapel Haven. Sidney Crass was born on November 5th, 1914 at the former Grace Hospital, then on Chapel Street, and which ultimately became part of Yale New Haven Hospital. He was the son of Louis Eliezer Crass, who emigrated from Eastern Europe and was also in the real estate business. Sid's mother was Ida Dushinsky Crass, who was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Sid recalled that as a child of a real estate salesman, his family moved frequently, with each move improving their living situation, starting in the Dixwell neighborhood, then Fairhaven, and later to a home on Ellsworth Avenue in New Haven. Sid's family belonged then to Temple Kesser Israel, or as it was known by Sid, the Foot Street Shul. At about the age of 10, Sid was one of 60 boys who attended the Park Street Yeshiva, led by the late Rabbi Yehuda Levenberg, who in 1920 was appointed as the chief rabbi of New Haven. Sid became an adherent of Rabbi Levenberg, and when Park Street Yeshiva moved to Cleveland, Ohio, Sid followed his teacher to Cleveland. However, what started as a rabbinical career track ended while Sid was still a teenager. Sid returned to New Haven during his junior year and completed his high school education at Hill House High School in the class of 1932. At the time of his oral history interview, Sid had recently celebrated his 70th Hill House class reunion at the former 500 Lake Street restaurant. After Hill House, Sid attended UConn, which granted him a bachelor's degree. One of Sid's first jobs out of college was as director of the B'nai B'rith International Youth Organization, AZA. Sid's devotion to the Jewish community and his religious identity did not stop there. He used his yeshiva training and his real estate acumen to effectuate the merger of two Orthodox synagogues formerly in the Oak Street neighborhood. They were Bikur Cholim B'nai Abraham and Sheva Zahinim Anshe Lubavitch. Sid also orchestrated the expansion of and relocation to Orange of the New Haven Hebrew Day School, now the Southern Connecticut Hebrew Academy. And he arranged for the Aron HaKodesh, the Holy Ark, containing the Torah scrolls of the former Temple Kesser Israel and Chapel in Sherman, to be moved, preserved, and modified for the new day school campus in Orange. Sid also was one of the founders of the former Young Israel Synagogue. So thank you for indulging me in a little bit of Jewish history that we owe to Sid Krause. Sid was considered a humanitarian within the greater New Haven community. He attributed his commitment to humanitarian causes to what might be considered an epiphany of sorts. Here's what Sid had to say about what might have driven him to pursue this mission.
Well, while I was in high school, and I went to University of Connecticut in 1932 to 1936 and graduated, I got into youth work through B'nai B'rith. I was youth director of AZA in Florida. I had 60 wild Indians there at the Jewish Institute on Legion Avenue and Dwight Street, the old Hebrew Institute building. And believe it or not, when you know how to handle people and you're good with them, you can get a lot out of them. And you couldn't even hear a pin drop. That's how they quieted it down. They all looked forward, and the dues were 2 cents a week, 2 cents a meeting. And it grew, the AZA group, and later a lot of them became workers and developers and officers in the B'nai B'rith meeting from that group. Now, the founder of Young Israel, we started in with that. Now, from there, from my youth work, I started to blossom out as a humanitarian. There's a reason why I'm a humanitarian. It's an interesting story, but I'm going to relate it. I had a sister, Ruth, that was a year and a half older than me, who developed nephritis, Bright's disease, kidney trouble. In 1939, there was no dialysis, there were no organ transplants. If you had something, you died with it. A beautiful woman, married to a college professor, Jules Chernoff, and she died in 1939. Had 2 bad kidneys. I didn't realize why, and I often question myself, Sidney, why are you devoting 60% of your business day for humanitarian work and dropping business? Something drove me. I have no idea why. I found out the answer. Jack Landau, a doctor, said to me when I was 85, 3 years ago, Sid, come on up, you're 85, you're due for a physical exam complete. to see how you stand physically. He examined me for about 2 hours, every test possible. Then he said, he comes out, he's laughing. I said, "What are you laughing, Jack?" He says, "Sid, do I know I have 3 kidneys?" I looked at him, I said, "What am I, a freak or something?" "No," he says, "there are very few people, there are people that have them." I got 3 kidneys. I said, "Glory be, if my sister were alive today, I could have given her 2. Because all I need would be 1 and I could have lived, she could have lived." Then I realized God, when he brought me to this earth, he planted in me 3 kidneys to do work. We call in Yiddish, Shaliach Tzibur. You're a messenger of God. As a humanitarian. That's what I am. And I always felt that I was directed by a force not from within. There was somebody upstairs guiding me.
Throughout his life, caring for the community, there was no cause more important to Sid than his own family. Sid and his beloved wife, Sylvia, of blessed memory, had 4 children, the 2 youngest being twins, Lori and Edie. The twin girls were diagnosed with developmental challenges that made it difficult for them to attend and succeed at local schools. After much investigation, the Crasses decided that the Maplebrook School, a boarding school in Dutchess County, New York, that serves adolescents and young adults with learning differences, would be the best for the twins. Maplebrook turned out to be a good choice, where the girls thrived and graduated. Once they graduated, the family needed a plan for the next phase of their education and training. In 1972, the Crasses met with other Maplebrook parents, including Jerry and Eva Rossman, who were facing the same need. The Crasses and the Rossmans, whose son Pete was graduating, and 18 other Maplebrook graduates comprised the original Chapel Haven community, housed at 1599 Chapel Street, not far from the entrance to Edgewood Park, hence the name Chapel Haven. Here's how Sid tells the story.
There's a reason why I'm a humanitarian. It's an interesting story, but I'm going to relate it. I had a sister, Ruth, that was 1.5 years older than me, who developed nephritis, kidney trouble. In 1939, there was no dialysis, there were no organ transplants. If you had something, you died with it. A beautiful woman, married to a college professor, Jules Chernoff, and she died in 1939. Had 2 bad kidneys. I didn't realize why, and I often question myself, Sidney, why are you devoting 60% of your business day for humanitarian work and dropping business? Something drove me. I have no idea why. I found out the answer. Jack Landau, a doctor, said to me when I was 85, 3 years ago, "Sid, come on up, you're 85, you're due for a physical exam complete to see how you stand physically." He examined me for about 2 hours, every test possible. Then he said, he comes out, he's laughing. I said, "What are you laughing, Jack?" He says, "Sid, do I know I have 3 kidneys?" I looked at him, I said, "What am I, a freak or something?" "No," he says, "there are very few people, there are people that have them." I got 3 kidneys. I said, "Glory be, if my sister were alive today, I could have given her 2. Because all I need would be 1 and I could have lived, she could have lived." Then I realized God, when he brought me to this earth, he planted in me 3 kidneys to do work. We call in Yiddish, Shaliach Tzibur. You're a messenger of God. As a humanitarian. That's what I am. And I always felt that I was directed by a force not from within. There was somebody upstairs guiding me. Well, when they had to graduate and leave Maplebrook School, my wife says, "What are we going to do?" So I said, "Well, we have a problem. Let's face it. Let's see what we can do." So I go over to the Easter Seal Goodwill Rehabilitation Center, They had a little building here, and they're about a mile from the Southern Connecticut College, Brookside, I guess we call the area there. And we asked them, could you take children with learning disabilities, they were adults now, and train them 24 hours a day. And the director was Al Kelly of the school. He said, no, he said, I can't do that. Why? He says, well, because we're only a day school and this is a 24-hour job, I can't. I think I'm a pretty good salesman. So I said, give me another 10 minutes, and I want you to hear the story what I want to do. I says, I'm going over to Southern Connecticut College, and I'm going to take their professors and their assistants and put them on staff and let them bring forth all their new ideas for development. And we were pioneers then, so was the college then, 25, 30 years ago. He said, gee, you're going to do all that? I said, yes. He said, well, let me see what I'll do. I'm having a meeting. I'll give it priority. I'll get back to you in 2 weeks. Sure enough, 2 weeks he calls me. He said, Sidney, we will take on your program. And we took 12 graduates of the Maple Brook School, and we brought them into the building, and the rehab center had Ginny Berkowitz, head of the staff. She was on the faculty. And we started off, and I named it Chapel Haven. Within 2 years, we sent our staff and the assistants throughout the country with workshops explaining them the new ideas and new methods of bringing a kid up the ladder. In no time, we had over 100 applications trying to get in. So my director says, you got to get me an apartment house, something big where we can handle and have more room to move around in. And I bought 1040 Whaley Avenue. We moved in, and within 2 years, we staffed it with close to 48 residents in our building. And we just celebrated here 2 years ago at 500 Blake Street, a milestone of 25 years on Whaley Avenue. We had over 600 people. We have right now 186 kids, graduates and residents on Whaley Avenue. I'm very proud of it.
Thank you to Nicole Zador, our managing archivist, for sharing these videos. Now it is my honor to introduce one of the original Chapel Haven adults who remains an important and independent member of the community. Please welcome to the podium the daughter of Sid and Sylvia Kratz, Ms. Lori Kratz.
Good morning. My name is Lori Kratz, and I would like to thank everyone for coming to celebrate Chapel Haven being honored by the Jewish Historical Society. I'd like to begin telling you a little bit about what life was like when Chapel Haven was started more than 50 years ago. Everybody knows that Chapel Haven was founded in 1972 by my dad and the Rossmans. Maybe you didn't know that when it was founded, I was still at Maple Brook. I lived there from 1970 to 1977. My dad and the Rossmans met while Peter and I were students there. The Rossmans were from Scarsdale, New York, and I grew up in New Haven. My dad had his own company called S.L. Craft Real Estate, and he was the one who found our original I can't remember the names of who lived there, but I remember 4 of them. They were Steve Tanner, Jeff Barry, James Kaufman, and Sheila Gallagher. My dad and the Ross men, who were part of Maplebrook Parents Association, believed that graduated from Maplebrook we needed to live independently in the community and not back at home with our parents. By the time I graduated Maplebrook in 1977 and moved to Westville, we already had a building at 1040 Whaley, and Ron and Jeannie Berkowitz lived there with us in apartment building. I can't remember which apartment exactly, but I know that they had 2 Irish setters, and one was named
as your award recipient this year. We are deeply grateful to be recognized. This morning, I want to acknowledge that events like today don't happen without passionate champions, people who generously give their time, energy, and heart to make a difference. This morning, I want to acknowledge, I already said that. I'd like to recognize 2 of those champions, Michael Dimmonstein and Marguerite Drucker, who saw in the founding of Chapel Haven a history worth preserving. Thank you. We thank you for that gift and for ensuring that our story will be remembered and shared for years to come. Who could have imagined that a tiny program that started in 1972 with just a few students, a couple staff, and a resident dog would not only survive, but flourish into the 21st century and still be going strong today? Truly amazing, truly extraordinary visionaries, Sidney and Peter Ross McGuire. I'm especially indebted to Michael, who served for many years on the Chapel Haven Schleifer Board of Directors, and who, during his time at Yale New Haven Hospital, helped create a groundbreaking vocational partnership for our adults, a partnership that continues to this day. That has to be about 20 years. It's going on for a long time. Through the Career Ability Workplace Learning Program, Chapel Haven Schleifer adults spend 10 months volunteering across 5 hospital departments, from the main cafe to more specialized areas like the specimens lab. This program has a proven track record of preparing our adults for meaningful employment. Talk about making a true difference. Thank you, Michael, and your team. As I look around this room today, I see so many champions who helped make Chapel Haven Schleifer Center such a special place, including Scott Cohen and the team at JCC. Where our adults enjoy world-class recreational amenities, intern in departments, and even work at Cafe J. Thank you and your staff. You have been incredible partners and something we truly, truly cherish and look forward to continuing for a very long time. Rabbi Eric Woodward, thank you. Your presence here today means so much, and you and the Becky community has been nothing but wonderful to us, and can't thank you enough. Dr. Haas, thank you for being here today. Also, you're going to start hearing the Oscars music going. And I want to thank everyone in this room. Gail Schleifer, thank you for being here. Pat Dillon. I also want to recognize there is a very special guest here, Horacio Martinez, if you can stand. Is he still here today?
We had to leave.
Oh, he did have to leave. That's okay. Horacio, I wish you had a chance to meet him. He is a director of a new documentary that's going to feature Chapel Haven. It's a documentary on intersectionality of the Holocaust and the disabled who were the first to go in the Nazi regime. And we have two producers here today, Faye Shepard and Doris Zelensky. If you could please stand. It is now my honor to introduce another one of our amazing champions, Harriet Schleifer. We were truly fortunate when Len and Harriet Schleifer chose Chapel Haven for their son David back in 2006. Imagine that, David? 2006. That's almost 20 years ago. Yeah. Today, David lives independently in our sale program. Come on up, David. At Lions Auto, and also at Cafe Jen. And if you ever need advice on any make or model of a car, David's your guy, right? If there's anything wrong with your car, if a light is out, your tire's a little low, David will remind you, right? He's the best. So like so many champions who celebrated today, the Schleifers came to New Haven determined to make a difference. And what a difference they made. From day one, they have been tireless investors and advocates, helping us build the state-of-the-art teaching, learning, and living spaces that define our campus today. And if you haven't taken the tour, and I encourage, we have plenty of people to walk all of you around, please come to Chapel Haven and visit our community. I can stand here and tell you everything and anything, but until you walk on our campus and you meet young men and women like David and Isaac and Lori and Mikey, that goes on, and see the lives that they're living and the true happiness, the true friendships. I just can't put that in words. You have to experience it, you have to feel it. So please come to our campus, and I promise you, it'll probably be one of the most wonderful experiences you'll ever experience. And thanks, that has a lot to do with Harriet. But Harriet's impact doesn't stop here. Retired attorney, she gives generously of her time and wisdom in so many ways. Are you really retired? You're never retired. As chair of, she had, man, this is like a list that can go on forever. She's so involved in so many wonderful things. As chair of the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations, as a member of the Executive Committee of our Board of Directors, as supporter of our partnership with the JCC, the Judaism Club, and countless initiatives, as Vice Chair of the Jewish Museum, as a trustee of the Washington Institute on Near East Policy, as past president of our synagogue in Mount Kisco, New York. Harriet is a visionary, a mentor, and a friend to me, and to all of us at Chapel Haven Schleifer Center. Her leadership and generosity make a real difference every single day. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Harriet Schleifer.
I usually need Marjorie Drucker, and the Jewish Historical Society of Greater New Haven for honoring Chapel Haven Schleifer Center today. Actually, I think the Jewish Historical Society is owed a great debt of gratitude for lovingly preserving the story and contributions of the Jewish community to and with the wider community here. That's a serious legacy for those who come after us. Your work is vitally important at a time in which history is being rewritten, values discarded, at a time when we are overwhelmed with misinformation, disinformation, and social fragmentation. My parents were Holocaust survivors and came to the United States in 1947. My mother had a younger cousin who also survived and came to this country when she was about 20. She was placed by, it could have been High-House or another one of the Jewish organizations. She was placed in New Haven, Connecticut, with family that my mother had who came prior to the war. Their last name was Joseph. He is probably buried in one of the Jewish cemeteries here, so it's going to be a goal of mine to go find his gravestone. And so that was a much earlier point of connection with our family and New Haven, Connecticut, well before Chapel Haven. Yesterday in synagogue, we started with the rereading of the Bible from the beginning again, Bereshit. We reinforced our understanding that we were all made in the image of God. And God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Genesis 1:27. Every one of us in this room is a marvel, although unique in our own way. We share in the marvel, and while celebrating the individual variations of this theme. At Chapel Haven Schleifer Center, our community of special people thrives. Our members live the best versions of themselves. Now 53 years old and going strong, it took many, many acts of kindness and understanding, and literally hundreds of individuals over the years to bring us where we are today. The premier education, the premier agency of our kind, providing vibrant lives of independence to individuals from all walks of life. But even today, our mission and our promise is still a wonder. It is still unique and ever evolving. The concept that an individual with a disability can have an independent life is still radical. A 2023 national study found that of 1.3 million people with autism or intellectual disabilities, the majority of adults are still living at home with families or caretakers. And astonishingly, they are receiving no formal services or support. So we still have a lot of work to do to change the hearts and mindsets of families, policymakers, politicians, that every individual deserves and can obtain a vibrant and independent life. Again, we are all the same, but with some variation. As I stand here today, I'm incredibly proud of the work that we do every day at Chapel Haven. To have a program like ours that takes a young person with autism or Down syndrome or an intellectual disability who is maximally dependent on mom and dad and the family and give them a satisfying and independent life, it's amazing. Many of our adults have never really had a friend or made their own social plans, have never successfully held a job or managed money or done any of the things that we take for granted in a more neurotypical trajectory. At Chapel Haven, those things happen all the time. The average adult who comes to Chapel Haven needs only about 2 years of time on our campus to learn how to manage an apartment, get along with roommates, manage a budget, go to Stop and Shop for groceries, cook simple meals, and keep their apartments clean. To make a social plan on a Friday night with another friend, get a job, and a good job in what they like and what they're successful in. And to start or continue going to college and earning a college degree. These things happen every day on our campus. And then they are ready to live as independent a life as you would hope for any neurotypical son or daughter. As I stand here today, I'm proud that the life skills model Sidney Crass and Jerry Russman introduced way back in 1972 on Chapel Street still works. On average, 85% of the adults who come to Chapel Haven succeed and move into this wonderful Westville community, needing only about 2 to 3 hours of check-in support a week from our staff. And remember, we started with an adult who needed help 24/7. Through the efforts of our Career Ability Program, our adults have access to more than 126 jobs created through partnerships with local companies. And they have the job coaching and support of so many mitzvah makers to support them in making that placement successful. Our adults have access to about 55 different social trips and activities a month. Everything from going to the Schubert to seeing the Yale's men hockey team to bigger trips like the one we took recently through the Judaism Club to the Jewish Museum in New York City. Or even the bigger trip we took to Israel in 2023, when we brought a delegation of 30 to learn how Israel is making its even more historical landmarks accessible to all. These people, our community, have social lives. They know how to manage money, cook for themselves, and make choices about what they want in life. And none of that could happen without the acts of acceptance and kindness that abound in this New Haven community. And the truth that we are B'Tselem Elohim, made in the image of God, all of us. So many of us in this room have taken time to partner with Chapel Haven and to honor the precept that we are here in this life to repair the world, because we are dedicated to honoring and restoring our best selves. So thank you for honoring Chapel Haven and elevating what we do. We could not succeed without the helping hands and hearts of all of you. And I wish the Jewish Historic Society all the best as you embark on your 50th anniversary next year. And all those who are involved with this society, please stand up and have a round of applause because we appreciate what you do. So stand up. We are all mishpacha.
Okay. Thank you again. And it is my honor to introduce our next two speakers who really embody the essence of who we are. And, you know, you hear quite often that Chapel Haven Schleifer Center is an approved special education school. We're a program, we provide services, we're a vendor with Connecticut State Department of Developmental Services, Department of Social Services, all of those wonderful things. However, Chapel Haven is more than a program, it's more than providing services. We're a family. We're one large, loving family, and we're a community. And we cannot succeed without the community around us in the greater New Haven area. And it's partnerships like we have in this room today, and everywhere in the greater New Haven community that has really helped us become the program we are today. So there's no better people that can speak the mission and the love of our family more than our adults. And I would like to introduce two amazing adults who wanted to say a few words today. One adult, you already heard his beautiful musical talent, where he composes his own songs. Isaac, if you want to come up. And also, I would like to welcome a person who is in really high demand in terms of her work skills, in terms of being she's already laughing over there, in terms of being one of the greatest administrative assistants somebody can have. Steve Cohen and I arm wrestle each other every week to see who's going to get her at the front desk. I think if Debbie had her way, she would be working here full time and not with me. But that's okay. That's okay. That's her dream. But these two wonderful family members of Chapel Haven wanted to say a couple words today, and if we could give them the honor to.
Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Isaac Moore. I graduated from the ASAP program at Chapel Haven in June. I'm honored to be speaking today about my wonderful experience with the Chapel Haven Judaism Club and its strong connections with the Jewish Community Center. I joined the Judaism Club when we celebrated Hanukkah during my first year at Chapel Haven. I was amazed at how many Chapel Haven students and alumni are Jewish, and it was joyful to have so many people in the Jewish community to celebrate the holidays with. I feel at home with other Jewish individuals, and having this community made me more comfortable here in New Haven. As a new student at Chapel Haven, the Judaism Club was a wonderful way to make new friends with similar interests and backgrounds. The club grew bigger and better very quickly, and there were multiple events and get-togethers. I'm glad to have others to share the Jewish holidays with, including non-Jews who are interested in our culture. It makes me feel that anybody can celebrate, regardless of background. I'm happy to keep such a religion alive. I celebrate the holidays in ways I never had before with Jews and non-Jews alike. I hope to someday go to Israel with Chapel Haven. Last fall, I took the Melton class, which was co-taught by Chapel Haven and JCC staff. We learned about Jewish culture and customs, and we celebrated important holidays and events, which were coordinated with the Judaism Club. One of my favorite fun facts I learned through the Judaism Club was that comics started in the Jewish community. I also had an opportunity to wear film. I also am thrilled to have a conservative synagogue across the street from Chapel Haven, and many Chapel Haven members attend services there. Every synagogue has a sanctuary, classrooms, and a social hall, or one converts to another, as in my synagogue in Danbury. And having all three at Chapel Haven is a home run for me. Chapel Haven has Jewish roots, and many individuals and their families are Jewish, as well as core members to the greater Chapel Haven community. I was delighted to learn that the JCC membership was included in the chapel aid tuition, regardless of one's religion. Chapel Aid's close relationship with the JCC has enhanced many students' experiences for learning and work opportunities. We are all grateful for this very important neighborhood alliance. Thank you.
So the last time I stood up here with Debbie Margolis, and she gave a wonderful speech, she made an announcement to everyone that she was so thankful for her job as an administrative assistant, and she wanted to give a shout out to her favorite boss. All right? Her favorite boss. And if it wasn't for him, I don't know where I would be here today. And I'm standing right next to her, and I'm like all smiles and ready to go. And she goes, "Scott Cohen, thank you."
Well,
So it's time to make up.
well, I will start by saying how thankful I am to work at Chapel Haven and to work here as well. I really don't want to embarrass myself here, but I just love working. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Debbie Margolis. I am a 2022 graduate of Chapel Haven's 2-year REACH program, which is a course for people like me to learn how to live independently. Now I live in Westville, and I have 3 part-time jobs as an office clerk at Chapel Haven, or administrative assistant, a cafe associate at the JCC's Cafe Day, and member service associate at the front desk at the JCC. A favorite part of my job is that I get to meet and greet lots of people. I love being Jewish. Judaism was a big part of growing up with my family. When I first arrived at Chapel Haven, I didn't know how I was going to continue practicing Judaism away from home. I did not have worries. The Chapel Haven staff were incredibly supportive, and I even taught them important things about Judaism. The aides who took me grocery shopping each week learned about kosher symbols on food and all about the kosher sections at the Amity Stop and Shop. During the pandemic, I was allowed to meet my mom in one of the Chapel Haven's parking lots so I could shake lulav and etrog in observance of the Sukkot holiday. For Hanukkah, Chapel Haven provided an electric menorah in the student lounge, and I led the blessings before lighting the menorah. Now that I am working at Chapel Haven, I take days off to observe most of the Jewish holidays. My colleagues ask interesting questions to understand what I am observing. Everyone loves Purim because I bring hummus to Seder. Chapel Haven has established relationships with Becky and Westville Synagogue. So Chapel Haven students and community members are welcome. From my experience as a student and as part of the extended Chapel Haven community, it makes sense to me that the Jewish Historical Society of Greater New Haven would honor Chapel Haven. Thank you for the opportunity to share some of my Jewish experiences at Chapel Haven, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Isaac. And we talk a lot about family, and we talk a lot about community. And it's something that I truly believe distinguishes us and separates us from so many other wonderful organizations that are out there. Because our adults are family. They're an extension of my family. They're an extension of our staff family. And their families are an extension of our family and our staff's family. And sometimes, as we live our lives, our adults experience losses, whether it's a loss of a boyfriend, a loss of a girlfriend, a loss of a family member, and we all hurt when those things happen. And recently, Chapel Haven lost a very, very special man. My board chair, my mentor, a person that I love dearly, part of my life for 24, 25 years, a champion in the disability world, an advocate, a teacher, a person who taught us that our men and women can live a life no differently than any other neurotypical individual. And if somebody told you anything differently, they were wrong. They were wrong. And he didn't do it through strong advocacy and yelling and big speeches. He did it through living what he believed. He did it with kindness. He did it with passion, and encouraged all of us to see disabilities as not a disability, but as an ability, as something to be celebrated, something that shouldn't be a special favor. It's a basic human right. And if you lead with that vision and that respect, literally the sky isn't the limit. And we have two wonderful individuals here today, Jonas and Sam, if you would stand up, who proved the sky isn't the limit. Jonas, with his father, climbed to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. Sam, independently with his sister's here, you can stand up. Sam climbed higher than the clouds on top of the world. And his sister did make it to the summit, along with one of Sam's friends, Andy, who made it to the summit. And that's what Tom saw. Tom O'Neill, my board chair, my mentor, my friend, and he consistently made sure that our team never forgot, and our community never forgot, that our adults aren't defined by labels. They're defined by being human beings with passion, with love, with kindness, and living a life no differently than any one of us in this room would be. Unfortunately, Tom O'Neill passed about a week ago. It's hard for me. I was with the family in Chicago. Rita and Josh O'Neill are here today. Rita and Josh, if you don't mind standing. Rita would like to come up here. And then after Rita says a few words, I would love to do just a moment of silence to honor Tom, his memory, and everything that he has done to teach me more than I already know in terms of love and respect for adults with different abilities.
Tom was very much a visionary, and for 47 years worked for the future of people with disabilities. And just a couple of examples were brought to light to me today, and a couple, one relating to the JCC. When Josh came here in 1998, Sidney Perry and I met many times the first couple of years, trying to find ways to integrate Chapel Haven at the JCC. The timing wasn't right, but as you all know, it is now, and we've come to this. The other thing was last Sunday in Chicago, Josh and I were in our hotel getting ready to go to my son's house. And I flipped on the TV, and it was the Chicago Marathon. and people were being interviewed, and I came into the middle of this interview, so I didn't hear the whole thing. But a couple was being interviewed. Their son with Down syndrome was running the Chicago Marathon. And his goal had been to run a marathon in all 50 states, and he had done it. And I will say, in 1978, when Tosh was born, that would have been unheard of beyond dreams. I didn't even know if I remember there was a marathon, and then they said that this was the 47th marathon. And that is what he lived. One little piece of trivia, we're from the Midwest. We're from Fort Wayne, Indiana. And so we're very tied to the Indiana Jewish Historical Society, which was begun in the early 70s by a man named Joe Levine. Joe had retired as our Federation president. Joe grew up in New Haven and had his bar mitzvah at the Orchard Street Synagogue. And so that's what it was. And we identified a little bit with the classes on a different level, but when we moved to Fort Wayne in 1979, Josh was in a program, I don't know, for the first year that was horrible, and it was all that was around. It was just horrible. And so I didn't know, I said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And Tom said, we're going to start a school. And we did. 3 little boys were 2 years old with Down syndrome, and the school grew from there. And it was a preschool. It lasted 30 years until we were at the time at the level when all of them were entering the public school system. So, every organization with disabilities, for the most part, 99%, as we all know, began with parents. Everything is parent-driven. And it was an accomplishment for all of you and us, and will continue to be. Thank you.
If we could just give a quick moment of silence for Mr. Thomas O'Neill. Thank you so much.
Congratulations to the Chapel Haven Schleifer Center for the recognition you so rightly deserve. We are proud to include you as a member of Jewish Historical Society's Hall of Fame. It is my pleasure to present you with a special gift of thank you and commemorate today's award celebration. Michael, thank you. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Jewish Historical Society of Greater New Haven, it is our honor to present you with this custom-designed Passover Seder plate, which is on the screen, inscribed with today's event. We hope you will prominently display it and enjoy using it at your next community Seder. And we know that the Judaism Club, so needed it, and we hope that you will enjoy your Seder this year.
I would like to ask Rabbi Woodward to please come forward for another special day. Congregation Bethel Keser Israel, or Becky as it's affectionately known throughout the community, has always been a welcoming and nurturing place for Chapel Haven adults. We understand that it can sometimes be a Chapel Haven resident who makes that magic minion for them. And it's a special honor to present you, Rabbi Woodward, with these books in honor of Chapel Haven Schleifer Center. And we hope that generations of Becky members and students will find meaning and love of learning in their contents. And Thank you, Rabbi, for making this event so special.
So I'll say the closing prayer in a moment. It's nice to look around here and see that we have more than a minion of Chapel Haven nephew regulars here. In addition to more than a minion of nephews. I also want to just say one thing that Harriet, your remarks, and that Rita, your remarks made me think of. We just read in the Torah, as you said, about God creating everybody in the image of God, and Elohim. And Rabbi Akiva, 2,000 years, said, you know what? One thing that's wonderful is that humans were created in the image of God. But he says, you know what's another order of wonderfulness? That God told us that God didn't act withholding about love, but God expressed love and gratitude toward us. It's something that, I'm hearing in how so much is parent-driven, and how much there's been self-Elohim and music that Isaac was doing, or Debbie, and all of your work at Becky, you do so much, or Jonas playing Mount Kilimanjaro, all these different things. There is so much gratitude that people express. And so I'm going to say two blessings of gratitude now. One, to say that we don't simply feel gratitude, but we say, we're going to name this, and we're going to do something even more. So first, just for the food and for the gift of the food, I'm going to say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hazan et hakol. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who feeds and nourishes everything. And then we're also going to say the Shehecheyanu, the blessing where we say, thank you for allowing us to reach this moment. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehecheyanu, Yifiyamanu, Yifiyanu, Lazman, Hazeh. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who has kept us alive and sustained us, and brought us all to this moment. Amen.
So, on behalf of Chapel Haven, obviously I'm accepting this for all of the men and women and family members of Chapel Haven Schleifer Center. And I would love for all members of Chapel Haven Schleifer Center, families, to come up and get a picture with all of us for this award. Thank you. So we're going to...
enrich our lives. Thank you to our special guest, Harriet Schleifer, for sharing your wisdom, your passion, your vision. As we close, I want to thank Rabbi Woodward for making today's event so special, for the honor reason for all of us.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your presence here today and for your support to provide the Jewish Historical Society of Greater New Haven means to do these kinds of programs. If you are a member, a donor, or a sponsor of today's event, on behalf of our board of directors, our sincere gratitude. If you're not a member, once again, you can become one. There is a membership form on your table to complete. Please join us and support our work so that the vitality of our community can be preserved and our stories may be shared for future generations. Finally, to close this wonderful event, we are blessed to have more Chapel Haven musicians with us. We'd like to ask the Chapel Haven Schleifer Center Judaism Club if they would like to come up and help us sing God Bless America and Hatikvah. God bless America.
This concludes our program. We really appreciate your being here.